Hi everyone, I'm Rajita,
I'm Vishal.
and welcome to our podcast, Managing in the Middle. If you're joining us here for the first time, then we want to tell you that here is where we unpack the lost art of people management. And if you're joining us because you heard some of our earlier episodes, then thank you very much for being part of this journey.
Yeah. So, in our first episode, for those of you that listened to it, it released about a month ago. We dove a little deeper into the evolution of people management and our own personal journeys associated with it. And it was focused on the expectations and the evolving role of the manager. So, for this edition, we decided to kind of flip the script a little bit and basically look at the evolving role and expectations of the manager from the lens of the person that is being managed. Because, as I think we all would agree, people management is not necessarily just about the person who is managing, but it's of equal
Yeah.
importance for the person who is being managed, just given the inordinate impact it does have on the other individual in the mix. And who better than our very own Christina to join us on this episode? Why Christina? Because she's had the misfortune of being managed by both Rachita as well as
The
me.
fortune, the fortune.
Well, hopefully, Christina. But yeah, Rajita will obviously do a little bit of an introduction about Christina just to kind of get you guys a little insight into her. But the one thought I would want to kind of leave the audience with is she's probably one of the best people anyone can inherit or have to manage, and she's a phenomenal leader herself. So, Raji, you want to do
Yeah.
introductions?
I mean, if you want to, read up about Christina's illustrious career, LinkedIn is the page to go to. But what I know of Christina is that she is an educator. I think that's where she started her journey, and then moved on to becoming a recruiter, and was in the staffing team, and then moved to my team as a program manager, helping us with learning and development programs. And there was no going back from there. She's worked on all kinds of portfolios from managers to leaders, and finally is an HR business partner. And that's her journey. What I would like to add is the one thing I have shared with her as well is that if there's one person that I'd love to report to, and that is Christina. So, yeah, welcome, Christina. Welcome to our podcast.
Great.
And thank you for doing this for us.
Oh, thank you. Like I said, both of you have managed me for many, many years and had to put up with me. So this is the least I
Stop
can
that.
do. And hopefully it helps add a little bit of a diverse voice to this podcast about
Yes.
sort of the viewpoint of people management and also from the angle of someone being managed. So very honored to be here today.
Wonderful. Thanks again, Christina. I think a good starting point, and I think for us, it's usually about personal journeys, and that's why we like to kind of kick things off. So, would love to kind of just go back in time and revisit your journey as someone who was being managed, and how your expectations of your manager evolved over time. And would love to kind of also get the flip side now that you are a leader and you're someone who manages. How have those expectations kind of informed the way in which you go about leading people today?
So if I look back at my very first job, part-time job, working at a restaurant, all the way till now where I am in my career, all I can say is I have matured a lot as a human being. Initially, when in my teenage, early 20s, really I just wanted a manager to be there and tell me exactly what to do, right? How do I exactly deliver this order in the restaurant? When a customer yells at me, have some manager to step in to help me out. Then when I started a corporate job, really having a manager to help guide me on teaching me some of the technical skills as I was early on my career, didn't really know what I was doing. So at that time, that was my expectation of the role of a manager is to
Yeah.
teach. Tell me exactly what I need to do, give me all the skill set that I want to absorb and learn from the world. But I didn't want a manager to really tell me, oh, problem solve on your own, or what do you have in the longer term of a career, because at that point in my time and that in my career I just wanted to look at today and tomorrow and be good at what I do today and tomorrow.
Right.
it wasn't until sort of as I continued to mature in my role, there's an upper limit of the technical component of the job that you can do. I got to a point where I was comfortable with knowing 90% of the work that I was doing. And you were starting to get a little bit itchy on, okay, what's coming up next? What do I want in my career? And this is probably what I would call sort of that mid-career phase in my life. Like I wanted to start becoming more strategic. I wanted to influence more people. And I'm starting to think about, okay, 5 years, 10 years from now, what do I want to do? Then my expectations shifted for my manager, because at that point in time, the manager didn't have too much of that subject matter expertise to teach me anymore. I probably knew more about the day-to-day job compared to my manager. But what I wanted a manager was kind of be there as a coach to guide me through, think through some of the problems, help me unlock my own potential. And probably more importantly at that point in life is help me figure out how to manage up and remove some of the roadblocks that was in the wider infrastructure where I didn't have access and visibility to. Then I fast forward later part of my career where I've gotten a little bit better at influencing up and down, further progress into sort of a managerial role. Then what I need from my manager again shifted, right? Because now I'm doing a lot of this myself. I'm coaching my team how to do that, how to do their job well, how to influence up themselves. So now at this point in time, I need a manager. I don't usually like to use a friend as I don't like to use the word friend in a manager, but that is at this point in life what I need is someone to actually just bounce off ideas with me.
Friendly manager.
A friendly manager that is able, when I have a bad day and I actually know I can't solve the problem myself, but actually to have someone, a safe space, whether in a manager role, so that I can go to talk about the bad day I have and let the manager know, you know what, it's okay, I've got it, but I just need you to be there to listen to me. Yeah, so it's interesting how as I progress my career and mature as a person, my expectation and what I want from a manager has also evolved.
I have a question just based on the journey that you're narrating, right? And you kind of put it at the stages of your own life and your experience. Based on that, the role of the manager kept changing. But would you say it's the same if you were in a new role? Would you go through the same stages again, where you would need a manager to first tell you what to do and guide you, and then shift to becoming more of a coach?
So maybe instead of saying a new role, actually all of these roles of a manager I just talked about, or my own expectation of a manager, I can go back and forth on it, right? It's just that that was a generalization that I said about. There may be a particular day when I'm got a certain task assignment in front of me that I actually don't know what to do, then I still need my manager to play that teacher role. It's just later on in a career where you're probably in a certain level of depth, your manager might not know everything and be able to play all the roles. So then that percentage sometimes can shift. But I do think needing a teacher, needing a coach / mentor, and needing a friend, like all of that, a manager does need to be fluid and play depending on which day your direct report wakes up and how they feel and what they need.
Correct. And so interesting because I remember in my own career as a manager, I would say that, okay, this person is of a certain level and certain tenure in the company. They should not be asking me questions. Right? And you expect that person to come to you with solutions. And so it just kind of shifted some perspectives in my own mind of how you're talking about a manager's role that needs to be flexible, or you need to play all the roles at any time whenever it's required, something like that, right?
And there is a broader expectation, I think, based on what stage of your career you are at. But I think what Christina really articulates well is your day-to-day is very different.
Yes.
I mean, there is a broader expectation and there is day-to-day. And based on which side of the bed you woke up, that day-to-day might be a little more or a little less needy in that sense. So,
And I'm just thinking sometimes it's harder for a manager who has a large team, or even say 7 or 8 people, to be able to flex their style and like code switch for every person on their team. So that's why either you tend to become a manager who 90% of the time is a coach and sometimes is a mentor or a teacher. Yeah. So, but it's very interesting. How do you have to be aware of what is going on with my direct report at this time, and how do I need to show up to support them the best?
But on the other side, this is a battle that constantly goes inside my head as well, even at this point in my career. Now, being a manager myself, sometimes going to my manager and asking those questions can be hard. Because later on in the career, I'm like, oh, I'm no longer junior. I shouldn't be asking, like Michelle, you said, I shouldn't be asking all these questions. But in reality, some days I do need a teacher, or some days I do need a coach. So actually figuring out and kind of overcoming that personal mindset of, hey, it is still okay for me to go to my manager and ask for this.
Right.
And I also remind my direct reports to make sure I create that space for them as well. Like, hey, I am here, even if you know everything, you don't have to struggle or brainstorm or solve everything by yourself. Even if you're capable, this should be a space I want to create for you in order to continue to ask me questions, because we're one team together.
See, that's why I want to report to her.
Exactly. She's channeling growth and learning mindset every day, right?
I have learned from the best. What can I say?
But Christina, just one follow-up, thought as well as question to what you just kind of covered. I mean, it's great that at every phase of your career, you've had a sense of what you kind of need from your manager. I'm curious on what conversations have you had with your manager about what you need? So, I mean, obviously there is an expectation that you hold based on, your worldview of how your manager should be supporting you. But have you had an explicit conversation with your manager to say, this is what I need of you? Is that something you would encourage? Or did your managers kind of lean in proactively and say, hey, what do you need? Tell me. And that kind of became your opportunity to have that conversation with them?
So honestly, yes and no. Because sometimes I don't even know what I need. Especially earlier part of my career, I've never really thought about what is manager's role. You just think manager's always there for you. You kind of take your manager for granted. They're supposed to be there to help you, teach you. So there wasn't really conscious thought about, okay, what do I want from my manager, nor have I proactively communicated that. It was just sort of, you fall into that pattern. But later on in my career, as I started demanding more and more from my managers, I started to think about, okay, if I'm demanding more from my manager, well, how do they know that I want more from them? And that reflection kind of made me feel that, hey, it is important for me to ask my manager and be more explicit of, hey, this is exactly what I need from you, or hey, I need help and this is what I need help with. But what I found really a growth experience for me, and Rajat, I remember I was reporting to you kind of that mid-career journey, and you would challenge me back on, hey, is this what you meant when you said this is what you want? Okay, you said you want to develop your career. Let's walk through, well, why did you say this and why did you say that? And through that conversation and kind of a two-way dialogue that I had, I might have said, hey, Mom, I want McDonald's for dinner. But you actually challenge back and say, okay, why is it McDonald's? How is it best for your health? Have you considered out different other options? And through that dialogue with my manager, it actually helped me realize, oh, I said I wanted McDonald's, but actually I was just craving a little bit of junk food, but it doesn't have to be McDonald's. Why don't we make healthier versions of nuggets in air fryer at home? So like those kind of conversations really help me kind of put a better framework around what is it actually that I need at that moment in time.
But Rajata, you were okay being mom.
Yes.
Irrespective of whether it was McDonald's or not.
Yeah. I'm okay. I did say that at one point. So, Christina, then how do you propose a manager can actually create the environment where someone can come and have that honest conversation with their manager? hey, I want to actually have some junk food. What, you know, and feel okay to ask that question, right? Like, I kind of feel that there is a certain hierarchy that there is between a manager and their direct report. And what you're saying is that it takes a while to get to the point where a manager asks questions and then the person responds. But how can we create that? What can a manager do to create an environment that makes it easier?
So I think a keyword you mentioned earlier is, well, how does a manager make it feel safe for
Yeah.
their team
Yeah.
to ask this, right? So I think no matter which culture you're in, what kind of industry you're in, that psychological safety between a manager and their direct report, that's actually what creates the space for your
Right.
team member to go to you and say, hey, this is the help I need from you as my manager.
Yeah.
So sometimes it depends on the culture of the company you're in and also the relationship you currently have with your team member. But I always feel, don't overcomplicate things. The easiest way is actually to ask directly, what help do you need from me as your manager? Okay? Or I see you're struggling with this. How can I help? Can I do this? Does this work? And then it's a journey, right? You might help a little bit, realize, hey, actually, they're not actually telling me exactly what they want. And then you launch and iterate. But I think the easiest way to start is by asking. Now, a lot of time managers would say, oh, I asked, but they won't tell me. They didn't. They said I don't need any help. But then, then I didn't do anything as a manager. So then sometimes it means you might not have that safe spot, or culturally, it might not be allowed yet to ask those questions. So don't get discouraged by just asking that question once and they don't tell you exactly what's their expectation for you as manager. Ask again, ask the third time. Show them that you care, because trust sometimes does take some time to build up.
Yeah, very interesting, because I was just thinking I should ask you a question about the fact that you worked in different kinds of organizations which are either hierarchical in nature or meritocratic in nature or flat organizations. I want to pose that question slightly differently, because what I'm hearing you say is it's not just a manager who needs to adapt to a different culture to manage differently, but it's also the people who move through different cultures, right? So my question to you is, both as someone being managed and someone who is a manager in these different kinds of organizations, what have you taken to be your best approach, or how do you approach situations where it's a mixed culture? Primarily because of the different kinds of people working there, not because the organization has its own culture, obviously.
I actually think the most successful organization is an organization with mixed culture, right? And this is not just racial type of culture, but it's about the different personality, the walks of life, the type of roles. So no matter which organization you're in, you should actually have a mixed culture.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of layers of managerial culture you're going to be navigating. One is, what is the corporate expectation? For those of you on the call that is actually working in a larger corporate, that you'll have some expectation of what's a good manager in corporation A versus B may have slightly different definition.
Right.
So that's the first layer you're probably navigating, especially if you're not a homegrown talent, is what is the managerial expectation in the organization that I work at. Now there's another layer of sort of in the smaller sub team. So maybe in your team or in the bigger department that you're in, how is the culture? Is it globally distributed? Are you managing team only in one location? Are they junior? Are they a mix of junior and senior? So there's actually a lot of dynamics, I think, as manager or as direct reports, you should be asking, being like, hey, what is the expectation of a manager in the organization or the team that I work in?
Yeah.
Then the third layer you have to battle is the authentic self. Right?
Yes.
You might have in your mind what you think a good manager should be doing.
Correct.
And it's great if it aligns with the corporate managerial expectation and your department's expectation with yourself. But in reality, a lot of the time, there might be some differences. So that is the reflection, I think, as a manager and also as a direct report, to be realistic about, okay, how do I adapt myself? What are some of the true values I don't want to give up as the authentic self? But that's important for me to actually change some of the practices in order to adapt to the wider cultural norm
Yeah.
of the team.
It's just so multi-layered and complex, right? Yeah.
100%.
And it's also being complicated by AI.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I know you had a question around AI.
I did. I think before we kind of maybe jump into the
Yes.
AI piece, the one
Yes.
thing I did want to kind of, maybe ask you, Christina, as a follow up to what you just kind of shared was, what do you do as a manager when your values are in conflict with organizational culture?
Great question.
Particularly because I think as managers, we carry a certain set of values that no matter what the context is, we continue to kind of, I guess, lean into and employ in the way in which we manage, right? So if hypothetically your organization doesn't allow for those values to be fully realized in whatever form or shape, what does your conversation with your team look like? You kind of just give in to what the culture expects of you, knowing that it's obviously not always going to be feasible to kind of find a different fit. What does that kind of look like?
So I do believe in authentic leadership, but that is a very wide category, right? Like, what
Right.
does authentic leadership actually mean?
Yeah.
Because in a lot of the time, in any kind of corporate, there might be decisions that you don't fully agree with. So the first thing I usually try to do is take my own emotions out of the equation. And it's easier said than done, right? Because sometimes
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
sometimes a company makes a decision and you're like, I don't agree with this. This is not the right thing to do.
You have to toe the line.
So the
Yeah.
first thing before I go and talk to my team or before I go talk to my manager is actually realizing I'm angry. Okay, why am I angry? Do that self-processing. We talk about putting on your own oxygen mask on. I think if I'm not emotionally regulated, I know I'm upset, then I'm not going to be able to deliver a message well and be true to myself, right? So first is about my own reflection and regulation. But then the question I ask myself is, what do I think is the right thing to do? And the right thing to do is not from my angle. What do I think is the right thing to do for me? Is what do I think is the right thing to do for the company or for the world? If you want to make it even bigger for the world in 2025, right now when we're recording, what is the right decision to make? Now, when I ask myself this question, sometimes I'll say, hey, actually, I'm not happy with this decision, but I see why this is good for the company, right? Maybe we are cost cutting. I don't agree with the decisions on why it impacts certain members of my team, but I see if we don't do this, there might be wider implications for the organization or for the world that may impact the users of our products. So that kind of helps me put things in a better perspective. Then I will write down questions of things I might disagree with and then go to my manager or my leaders and say, hey, I want to know a little bit more information so I can make sure. So I don't just show up in front of my team and say, hey, because management told me so. So I'm
Right,
just
yeah.
here.
Exactly.
Because
That's the
then
worst.
if my job is a messenger, then you don't really
What are you
need me.
saying? Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. Like if the manager's job is just a messenger's job, then what's the point, right? There is a lot more that goes behind what people management is all about. So it's not just transmitting information.
No, and it is a tightrope walk, right? I mean, we often forget that we're not just representing, I guess, the people that report to us, but we're also, for lack of a better term, agents of the company, if you think about it. So it's that, how do you balance individual people interest with company interest? And
Yeah.
that's probably been the hardest part of the last 2+ years for organizations that had to restructure.
Yeah.
So,
And I really like the point you made, Christina, on emotional regulation. That's something that we want to do an episode on at some point because there are just so many instances that take place in the day-to-day that a manager really needs to show up as their best self. And emotional regulation is a big part of that. Otherwise, you're constantly caught up in the flight or fight mode and you don't know what to do and you freeze. And so how do you actually regulate your emotions to then show up in the way that the company needs you to show up at that point in time? Yeah. Yeah.
Do we want to come back to AI at
Of
this
course.
point?
We always have to come
or
back
do we kick that can down the road a little bit?
Totally your call, but I think
Can
Christina's
AI
lady.
help managers with emotional regulations?
I think they're trying.
They're
I
trying.
think they're
Yeah.
trying to help everybody, not just managers. But I don't know if they can ever replace a proper practice, whether it's a therapist or it's mindful breathing or something like that. I think you still have to do that on your own.
And I'm looking forward to that episode because I think both of you will have very good tips to share. In the years I've reported to both of you, you've always shown up really calm, no matter what fires I've thrown at you. So
I was going to say on a lighter note, I think AI can do a better job than some baseline managers out there. So
Could be, but yes, we're not talking about those
we're
managers.
not talking about those managers. Is our bar that high? Hey, this is managing for everyone, right?
Yeah, this is for everyone, and yes, yes.
Christina, one other thought, would love to kind of get your perspective. And obviously, I think both Raji and my experiences are largely guided by what's happened in the tech world in the last couple of years. You've obviously kind of made the transition out of big tech into a different industry in some form or shape. But one of the things that we did kind of chat about was just the fact that, particularly in the last 5 years, there's just been so much change in terms of what organizations expect of their managers and what employees expect of their managers, vice versa, that there isn't exactly a playbook that managers have had the luxury of anchoring on. I think we've all just been feeling our way through whatever situations have kind of hit us, whether it was the pandemic, it was post-pandemic, it's all of the restructuring that's happened, technology changes. See, we came back to AI. But I'm just curious what your experience has been. Have you kind of experienced it exactly the same way, or has it been a slice of that? Like, do you feel like fundamentally management has been harder in the last 5 years than probably before?
I might be biased because
No.
I think I've grown more mature as a manager in recent years. So I definitely feel management has gotten more and more complex. But I remember in the early days when I was first a manager, very early on in my career, you would just go to the bookstore, buy a managerial book,
Management for dummies?
get some of the best practices of a people manager, and it worked like 90% of the time. So that was maybe at that time I was a different manager. So like that, I felt that was a very good starting point. But now if I look at those practices that I read in the book, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is you actually have to play that different roles. And with the different individuals, direct reports, there are so many nuances in the role as people manager of today. So that makes it just a lot more challenging. I remember when the pandemic hit, we were sort of scrambling to figure out, okay, how do you manage through a distributed remote team when people are going through health issues and difficult times, right? So we talked about being empathetic as a manager. How do you bring diversity and inclusion in a remote environment?
Right.
Then pandemic ended and some companies went fully back into the office and
Right.
people were struggling to come back. And as a manager, how do you show up to help the team with that transition? Some companies actually went the other extreme and went completely remote. So that now it was a permanent remote practice. So then as a manager, how do you ensure work productivity is there? How do you make sure that inclusion is there? And then to layer on, coming back to the topic of AI, now with AI, a lot of the frontline tasks have all been automated.
Yeah.
So before, as a manager, I might be teaching you, but now you don't need me to teach you because you got AI to be there to
Exactly.
answer the questions.
Exactly.
So then figuring out what's my evolving role as a manager if I'm going to be teaching less. So no one, and I don't think we're going to ever have a playbook that's going to be published as quickly as the world is evolving.
Yeah.
So it is a changing journey. We have to experiment and figure
Correct.
out.
I just wanted to add another layer of complexity to all the lists that you just mentioned, which is the intergenerational workplace. On sometimes your employees have different expectations of a manager, and how does that show up as well, right? Like then the need to be a flexible, to have a flexible approach is so much more than it was before. I was just thinking of that as you were saying. I was like, gosh, it's not just this; it's also the other complexities of a workplace that add to what is expected from a manager. Yeah.
No, and I think also we were exchanging this article talking about your intergenerational workplace
Yes.
piece a couple of days ago, where it was an organization that had actually put in place communication training to help people across generations better understand each other and work together. And Raji and I were kind of talking about it, and it was the most bizarre thought ever. I was like, seriously, are there
Because
organizations
they were focusing
out there?
on vocabulary
Vocabulary or
and lingo and all of that.
and we were just like, whatever happened to just trying to understand the other person without putting them in a box, whatever the box may be. And it's amazing that there are organizations out there, or there are managers and people who are being managed out there where, you know, they don't have the luxury of obviously just, having someone who's willing to kind of go beyond what's baseline expectation in terms of understanding the person. So it's really bizarre.
But I think I don't usually like the box that they put people into.
I don't either.
But I do see a general trend.
Yep.
Now, from individual to individual, I don't think you can put them in a box.
Yeah.
But there is a general trend. And a fun story is last week I was interviewing a candidate, and I had reservations from the interview, and I was debriefing with the team on whether or not, and they made a comment of, hey, now in this day and age, this type of candidate will always be like this. Now, I was thinking about that comment and going like, am I being too quote unquote traditional with my mindset when I'm like, is my expectation too high when I'm looking to hire, or is this actually just sort of the standard norm of the industry or of a particular population that we're trying to recruit from? But as I was thinking through this, I go back to my authentic leadership, and I'm like, what is the right thing to do? Should I be lowering the standard? Is my standard correct? So I think it goes back to the fundamental value. And then that helps me figure out, okay, how do I communicate with the different populations that I'm working with?
Yeah.
It's a catch-22, clearly.
No, but I think the best advice I ever got as a manager is, people are people. You have to understand the person. And what I'm learning from our conversation today, Christina, is that people also evolve. So you can't box them into one set and say, Christina's always like this and that is how I need to approach her. She's also evolving. So when I'm working with you, I need to make sure that I'm using you as like the proxy here. But when I'm working with somebody, I need to make sure that I keep investing in understanding the person as long as I'm working with them, because they're evolving, and so my approach needs to evolve as well. Yeah.
And luckily, both of you had seen me early on in my career and also where I am today. So I feel like you have probably seen how I evolved and have changed the type of questions I've been asking you as well.
Yeah.
And it so really, I think, demonstrates people can change, can mature, can be different, and manager plays such an important role to be there and guide your team through that journey.
Absolutely. And I think also, the organization, the environment you are in has such a profound impact on your ability to also evolve, right? And so, just shifting across different cultures somewhere adds to, I guess, a new lens, both as someone, who is managing and being managed. So yeah, it's good to kind of get a lot more experiences under your belt. We've obviously kicked the AI can down the road a couple of times, so let's lean into it. Let's lean into it, but we could maybe start with something really broad, Christina. What is your hot take on, all the conversation and banter surrounding AI? I mean, we've heard everything from, AI needs to be a partner to AI is going to replace humanity and people managers as an extension. What do you think?
I think I love AI. So I'm already making my very clear stance here. But I think AI cannot replace 100% of the work that we do. But I think we need to figure out how to best use AI to our advantage to help us work smarter, not harder. and it is a very useful tool.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to show my age, but I remember when the .com age was happening and everyone was saying that, hey, like all these search engine, internet, it's going to ruin the world. Let's stick to paper snail mail.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we're going through that huge that stage of change right now,
Correct.
where we know this is something really big that is going to change our life. But it's scary because we don't know exactly how it's going to change us, right? How is it going to impact our job? How is it going to impact managerial practices? We're starting to see glimpse of it, but that's exciting. Like I'm curious and I'm excited, say 5 years from now when we're here doing the podcast to actually talk about, hey, see all of this innovation in the last 5 years and how different our manager job is now.
Yeah, I think we'll have to keep calling you back every year because the rate of change is that fast.
And forewarning, you might be doing that podcast in 5 years with 2 bots instead of us.
But, I was just thinking about what you were saying about AI, that what AI cannot replace is the human element. And a lot of times people don't look at a manager's role as having the human element. They look at it as more as someone who's a task manager, who's giving tasks to people, who's project managing. And I think more and more AI is going to help distill the manager's role to be that of a person who comes in to help someone, to encourage someone, to coach someone to become better and then do a better job. Yeah.
And we have a long way to go before
Yeah.
AI starts leaning into the emotional intelligence part of it, which is what I think
Absolutely.
managers bring to the table, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or at least it's what we have known our managers
Yeah.
to be for us. So.
On a lighter note, I wanted to say, Vishal, that next time we need to time ourselves to see when do we say the word AI in our podcast. I think it took us about 40 minutes this time to actually get to the conversation.
I'll tell you what, we can incentivize that a little further. Every time we say AI, we take a shot. We'll get to it sooner. Well, water for now, but we can come with, I don't know, whiskey shots the next time.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think the fun part about AI, and I'm experimenting a lot in my role, and as well as how do I take the task that I actually don't like as a manager out by having AI to help. And it's been super helpful. Things like all my interview notes for hiring have now been hugely AI supported. When I look at performance review of my team, I keep track of them in a document, and AI helped me do a lot of, before it might take me a full day to do performance review, and now that I can cut that down into 2 hours. So I feel like I love how AI is bringing efficiency to my work, so I can actually focus on the people management part that I really love, which is working with the people, coaching them, helping them grow. But which this is a little bit scary because in the industry, a lot of the manager, and I'm sure many manager on the call right now, they're actually task manager. If I think a lot of the frontline managements or team leads level, you are managing, distributing of the workload.
Workflows. And, correct.
And if you're looking at, hey, how do I correct the work, do a quality check? A lot of that may eventually get replaced by AI, but hopefully that just means we can actually elevate the role of people managers moving forward. But it does mean for managers right now who are mostly task-oriented manager, since this is management for everyone, the question I would ask these managers to think about is, what is my unique selling point? If AI is here to stay, how can I continue to develop my USP so I continue to stay competitive as a manager? And I start honing on some of these skills. Because if we know AI is here to stay, and if you're complacent today, you might get replaced tomorrow. So it's better to get a head start and start working on some of these things.
Yeah, that's such a great point, right? And I think a lot of times we are so caught up with tasks that you don't have the time to sit back and reflect and say, what do I bring to the table? Like, what makes me a good people manager? Or am I, is this what I really want to do? Because honestly, some people may really enjoy the entire project management piece of things, but not as much of people management. But they get thrown into roles as people managers. So it's a good time to reflect and think about what do I really want. And on a lighter note, I wanted to say, gosh, I wish I had AI these like 10, 12 years ago. I was managing a team of 38 people. We had quarterly reviews to write. it took me an entire month to even deliver reviews, and I'm like, God. And like you said, it would take 1 day per person to write those notes. I wish I had AI then, but anyway.
For any organizations doing quarterly reviews, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, is a
And having 38 people per manager. Not a good ratio.
Not a good
not a good ratio.
Hey, but performance management should always be ongoing. So
Exactly,
make
yeah.
sure you keep your notes for
Yeah.
your team.
Yeah.
For your- yes.
All the the good hygiene stuff, definitely. But I like the way you use AI to your benefit, where it helps you become a better effective manager rather than getting caught up in all of the tasks kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And 38 people reporting to you is an org structure problem. It's
Yes.
not an AI or a performance management problem.
Yes, that's a different story.
Just to call that out, different
So-
story.
Yes.
All right. I think maybe staying on the topic of AI, we posed a fun question to each other the last time, and let's maybe throw that out to you as well, Christina. So, if your manager was an AI agent or an AI chatbot, what is one, I guess, feature request you would probably want to have built into this AI chatbot? And what is one bug you would immediately go in to fix
One feature request.
in your AI manager?
Am I AI manager?
It's not both of us.
It's not both of us.
Both of you are perfect managers. Nothing
Thank you,
more I
Christina.
can
Thank you. I know.
Thank you so much.
I think feature request for me would be empathy. And that's actually the emotional intelligence piece that I recently said is actually really hard to probably get right in AI. But I actually think that's the feature I want the most, because I think a lot of the skill set, the task itself, I can probably figure out and learn on my own. But it's having someone that I feel that I can connect with, that listens to me, helps motivate me when I need that extra boost of energy. I think that's what I really would like in a AI manager. So I don't think AI is there yet. Although I do feel there are experiments of people chatting and AI counseling. So I feel like that may never say never.
No,
So it
100%.
could happen down the line. But that would be my future request, is that emotional intelligence, empathy piece.
Okay.
And a bug I would fix. So both of you should know, and this is one of the constructive feedback that you gave me before.
Oh, I was
is-
like, is she going into constructive feedback for me today on air?
Is I really don't like confrontation, and I still don't like confrontation. I like environments where everybody loves each other. So I would not want my AI robot manager to ever have negative emotions. So if the AI manager starts raising their voice, getting angry, or getting upset at me, that is an immediate bug that I would fix. Even if I did something wrong, I don't want them to yell at me.
Christina, the eternal harmonizer.
Which is why she wants empathy. So have
know.
empathy. Don't scream at me.
Don't
Let's
scream
try
at
and
me.
understand what's going on.
Even if I did something wrong, they should be like, "It's okay, I forgive you."
Yeah. We'll make sure your AI agent has a soothing voice.
Yeah. Plus, I think going back to what you said, like if the AI manager can switch roles, that brings in the empathy factor as well, right? Like, okay, right now Christina needs some, not tough love, but she needs like a little bit of taking care of, and we should talk softly to her and don't confront her and ask her what's going on.
Yeah.
So you're also asking for a bit of like the emotional intelligence to be flexible in their approach.
And I think that's actually really important but difficult to do, because sometimes you need your manager to play a little bit that soothing role. But then sometimes, if I think back on my experience with you too, is sometimes when I'm too quote unquote soft, you do push me outside of my comfort zone and say, hey, it's time for you to actually buckle up, and why don't you go and do something that you've been avoiding because you knew it was going to be difficult. So I do think having that emotional intelligence to know how to switch the role is really important.
I think there are listeners who will probably think that this is what we also need in our real managers. Forget AI, that's too far away,
Yes.
Definitely.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the AI can train the real managers once we
Gosh,
train the AI.
that'll be the day.
Enough about me. You've asked me lots of questions. Now, I'm really curious, as two managers that have managed me in different parts of my career, curious how, when we talk about that manager employee relationship, how has your experience been and also your learning throughout your managerial career?
I think this is Christina's way to get a little bit of praise going for.
Not at all. It doesn't have to be about me. It can
On
be
the
about
end.
it can be about your managerial experience in general. What have you learned? What have you had to adapt? What worked? What didn't work? And maybe what do you, if you can tell something to your former direct reports, like what would be one thing that you wanted from them?
I'm actually going to share an incident that took place where, and I'm sharing it because I remember actively shifting my approach to management and thinking about it. And I remember it was, I think, around the pandemic is the nearest example I can always get for times which helped me shift my perspective on a lot of things, including people management. And we would get these reviews for your managers as part of company-wide surveys. And I got this review from my team, and in my head, I was thinking, my God, I've been one of the best managers. I've really taken care of my team. I was there for them because we were all going through all kinds of emotional upheavals, and I was there for all of my team members, taking care of every single need. And I felt that, what I'll get from this survey from my team was going to be a lot of gratitude. And when I saw the review, it's not that it wasn't all of that, but there was also some other things that they asked. And my first reaction was, oh my God, I've done so much. And my team is not even appreciating that part that I've done. Instead, they're asking for a lot of other things. And instead of going and talking to the team first, I've for the first time realized the benefit of actually sitting back and reflecting. And I sat back and I thought about it. And I'm the kind of person who has to talk to a couple of confidants to,
Process.
process the whole thing. So I did that. And then I went back and I slept and I journaled. I don't know what I did. But when I woke up the next morning, I had a lot more clarity on what my approach needs to be. And I realized that while I think that these are, this is my team and I'm doing this work for them, for each of them, I'm their only manager. And I really need to show up for each of them differently and ask them, what is it that you want? And I felt that up until then, I was doing everything that I thought they needed without asking them what they wanted. And I felt that changed the way I started, looking at people management again, because I felt that, okay, now I need to check with everyone individually, what is your personal situation? What can I do to help you? On a side note, I also realized the power of asking the right question. Instead of telling them, I can't even remember what I said, but there was a question that I asked them that really helped them realize that I'm there to help them, or they can ask me for what they want anytime, rather than me just saying I'm here for help, come anytime kind of thing. Right? Like I just didn't offer my help, and I said, tell me what you need, and I'll be there to support that. And I felt that shifted my entire approach to people management. And I feel the fact that I took a deep breath, sat back, counted till 10, and said, now let me go back and talk to my team, was the best move I could have ever made. My past self would have just lashed out and gotten very upset. So I know that. Yeah.
No, I think building on what you said, Raji, and it's obviously set up this way, but most organizations have a periodic survey, whatever that duration may be, to assess how effective you are as a manager. And somewhere I think most managers kind of hinge their entire self-assessment on that one particular point in time. I think for me, probably this kind of goes back to what I would go back and kind of tell myself, as well as probably my biggest realization is I think how your team feels about you is transient. There is probably a general overall sentiment that they have about your capability as a manager, but at different points in time in the year, that could kind of move across the sliding scale based on things that are happening in the broader ecosystem, things that are potentially happening in their lives. And somewhere I think it's figuring out what are the most important things for each individual. And to your point, kind of ensuring that those remain intact, right? And flexing and adjusting your approach to be able to kind of do that, which is where I feel like, even going back to some of our earlier conversations, if we take the task orientation and that focus out of the mix, whether that's with AI, whether that's with more efficient processes, whatever that may be, it allows you room and space to be able to focus on the people in the mix. And it is people management for a reason, right? And so you don't have all of these other distractions to kind of, come in the way of actually focusing on what each individual needs. And again, like, the one size fits all approach is something I think we all agree doesn't hold good, especially in today's time and age. But I think also somewhere it's figuring out how much do you lean in, because one of the feedbacks I've gotten from my team time and again is you lean in too much, which is also very interesting because I'm like, okay, I'm doing it from a place where I think you need this support, but they're like, take a step back. You don't need to kind of be this invested.
Correct.
And that's very counterintuitive to how I think managers have kind of been conditioned, if I was to say.
Yeah.
So for me, it was actually dialing back as opposed to leaning in.
Yeah. Because it's a very fine balance, right? Like if
Yeah.
you don't lean in enough, then you're not available. If you lean in too much, you're like, you don't trust me. That's why you're trying to do so much for me. Like, are you? Yeah.
And trust aside, like I had conversations where people would tell me you're going to burn out
Yeah.
because you're leaning in too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that dance of the management, right? You have to be able to be nimble and shift depending on what your team needs. But that's actually we're asking a lot of
We are asking
managers.
a lot.
You've got most people have a decently sized team. You're juggling between different personality and probably time zones, cultures, and many of them might even have individual contributor roles that they're still
Correct.
doing
Yeah.
on top of people management.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we're saying that, you have to be more hands-on with this person because maybe they need more help, but
Yeah,
you have
that
to be more
agility.
hands-off with
Yeah.
the other person. So I think it's actually, I think I just want to recognize that management's not easy. But that's why we have each other so we can brainstorm and sort of it takes a village of community to share these knowledge, experiment, try things out. But I think that ability to actually dial in and dial out, that's really important. That's also a painful lesson I learned throughout my managerial experience is if I don't step back, then they will never grow.
Yeah.
And am I doing it for my own peace of mind?
Yeah.
And what I realized early on in my career is I'm very involved because I might not have that level of trust. Or it might be my own comfort zone because I know the task very well and I want to demonstrate my value as a manager. But actually learning how to step back is a really important part of that manager-employee relationship.
Yeah.
A huge plus one. And I think it kind of goes back to this proverb that I feel underpins the way I think about people management. It's trust but verify. It's something that I came
Trust and verify. I love that.
it's something that I came across like I think maybe like a decade plus ago. It was part of, I mean, if you guys remember Jonathan Rosenberg,
Yeah.
who used to head up marketing at Google like a zillion years ago.
Yeah.
He basically had like a bunch of things that he documented. He called it the bestseller I never published, which had like, his recommendations on approach to people management, communication. Like he touched upon a bunch of different topics. And one of the things in that for people management was trust but verify. So it was an interesting one.
Fantastic. It sounds like a book we should buy if it's ever published.
I know.
Yeah. But Christina, as we're wrapping up, I definitely wanted to ask you one question. What do you do to keep yourself agile like that, right? Like, like you just said, there's just so much that we demand of our managers. What is your tip? Or what do you do to just keep yourself available for your team?
I think this I actually learned from you, Raji, is that taking care of your own self as top priority. And I know, as cliche as it sounds, we tell manager this all the time, but I constantly remind myself, if I'm not sleeping well, if I'm not eating well, if I'm not able to be detached, and detached not just mean not working, it means when I'm not working is my brain actually resting and detaching. If I'm not able to do any of that, then I get stressed and I don't show up well, and I have issue with emotional regulation because I'm only human.
Correct.
So I think that for me is the base foundation line is, I know, hey, if I've got a lot of business trip traveling coming up and I'm going to be jet lagged, then I need to be more intentional and dial up and maybe set aside separate time for my team, because I know, like, physically I'm not going to be at my best. So I have to put in a little bit more extra efforts. And I make sure those periods aren't going to be too long, because that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
I think my advice is actually to know what are some of the key components that make you show up the best. Because when you can operate at your best, that's when you can have that mental bandwidth for your team and being able to shift based on the needs that they have. And then once my mind is clear, I can make sure I ask people the question, what do you need from me? Hey, this is what I observe. How do I adapt? So then it comes a lot easier if I'm in a good place myself.
Yep. Perfect.
Definitely learned self-care from the best. I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at self-care.
You should get better, Vishal. Not
Raji's
good.
a great teacher.
Raji's a great teacher. I agree.
Yeah. Do you want to do a quick wrap up? I mean, I have a couple of things I'm definitely taking away. So, Christina, thank you for reminding me of, how the evolution of a manager's role is not linear, right? Like it is parallel play. You have to play multiple roles depending on what situations are thrown at you. And I really loved the piece on authenticity. Like you were talking about it, about how does your authentic self integrate with the company, with the team that you work with, the colleagues that you work with. And I really like that point. I don't know, somehow it kind of stirred something in me about authenticity, because if you're not your authentic self, can you really be your best self? Like that's the question I'm holding, and then we'll see. Yeah, but thank you for that.
I know. No, I think for me, completely echoing what Raji kind of covered. I love the fact that you reminded us that it's not just that one size fits all, but it's the fact that you experience people management, and how you feel about people management varies on a day-to-day basis. Going back to where we started, around which side of the bed you kind of get up. And that's great, because you're not necessarily, again, putting the art of people management into a box. I love the fact that you also kind of reiterated, Christina, the importance of holding your ground when your values are in question, but being flexible about needs of the organization where it isn't necessarily in conflict with your values as well. And I must say, I also love the fact that you found multiple opportunities over the course of this podcast to praise the both of us, which is exactly why we invited you.
Yes.
That was the ulterior motive.
I am very authentic to myself.
Exactly.
And thank you very much for inviting me. Like I said, I think managerial roles are not easy, but it's very rewarding. So
Absolutely.
I hope it takes a village, but we're the village for each other.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if your team is watching, as I hope they will, and I hope they don't need a reminder, but we are reminding them that they're incredibly lucky to have you
Absolutely.
as
They're
their
in
people
good
manager
hands.
and their leader.
Yeah.
They're in good hands, and they're learning from the best as well, Christina.
Thank you. I'm waiting for Raji to report to me in the future, though.
Yes. Let me know when. I'll interview first.
Yeah, we're both looking for roles at the moment.
Shameless plug-in.
Shameless plug. So in case you need two people on your team who are possibly tried and tested, we're happy to kind of come along.
Yeah. But thank you so much for joining us, Christina. And thank you, everyone, for listening to us. Do follow us for other such scintillating conversations.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Correct. And keep fighting the good fight.
Wait, special episode. Isn't every episode special with a...
You're our first.
Yeah, you're our first special.
Oh, first guy.
First outside guest. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's only both of us talking to each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is why this
This is a special
this
one.
is really new.